I'm talking about the stunning, chilling, and incredibly precise declaration made by Secretary of Defense, or, as he now pointedly calls himself, the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth. On Thursday, inside the cabinet room, with President Trump sitting right across from him, Pete Hegseth didn't mince words. Yes. He didn't offer us the usual bureaucratic word salad about strategic patience or de escalation. He looked the president in the eye, and he looked the American people in the eye through the cameras. And he delivered a message that was clearly intended for one audience, the supreme leader in Tehran. He said, and I am quoting him exactly here, "We will be prepared to deliver whatever this president expects of the War Department." Whatever this president expects, let that sink in. In the context of Donald Trump, a man who has already ordered a massive armada to steam toward the Iranian coast, a man who has tweeted that time is running out, and a man who just authorized the snatch and grab of a sitting head of state in Venezuela. Whatever he expects is a phrase that should send a shiver down the spine of every geopolitical analyst on the planet. Today, we are going to tear this statement apart. We are not just going to read the headlines. We are going to look at the logistics, the precedents, and the terrifying reality of what Hegseth calls reestablishing deterrence. We are going to talk about the massive armada. We are going to talk about Operation Midnight Hammer. Let's start with the setting. This was the first cabinet meeting of 2026. The atmosphere in Washington is already electric. You have the successful, albeit controversial, capture of Nicolas Maduro on January 3rd, still dominating the news cycle. That operation, which Hegseth described as the most sophisticated, powerful raid in world history, has emboldened this administration in a way we haven't seen since arguably the 2003 invasion of Iraq. They feel invincible. They feel that the old rules of international sovereignty and red lines simply do not apply to them because they have the capability to erase them. So when Hegseth sits down at that table, he isn't speaking as a rookie secretary trying to find his footing. He is speaking as the architect of the Maduro raid. He has blood on his jersey, and he has a win on the scoreboard. And when the topic turns to Iran, notice the shift in tone. President Trump asked him about the situation. Now, usually a defense secretary says, "Mr. President, we have assets in the region. We are monitoring threats." Standard boilerplate. Heggs didn't do that. He went straight to the ultimatum. He said they should not pursue nuclear capabilities, and we will be prepared to deliver whatever this president expects of the War Department. He didn't say Defense Department. Did you catch that? He said War Department. You know, for those of you who know your history, the U.S. Department of Defense was originally called the Department of War until 1947. Changing it to defense was a branding decision after World War II to make American hegemony look more protective and less aggressive by reverting to the term War Department, even unofficially. Heggs and Trump are signaling a psychological shift. They are telling the world, we are not here to defend static lines. We are here to wage war if necessary. We are here to project power. It is an offensive posture, not a defensive one. And what is that posture backing up? It's backing up a specific demand: no nuclear weapons. Now, we know that Iran has been inching closer to breakout capability. We know that since the collapse of the previous nuclear talks, the centrifuges at Ford and Natanz have been spinning. But the Trump administration isn't interested in a new JCPOA. They aren't sending pallets of cash or diplomats to Vienna hotels. They are sending the USS Abraham Lincoln. They are sending B-2 bombers. And they are sending a message that the Venezuela model, a decapitation strike, or a regime-shattering raid, is on the table for Iran. Heggs explicitly linked the two scenarios. He used the Maduro capture as a warning to the Ayatollah. He said, "No other military in the world could have executed that raid. No other president would have been willing to empower those warriors that way." He is drawing a direct line between the extraction of Maduro from Caracas and the potential future of the Iranian leadership. He is saying, we can get to you, we can reach you, borders don't matter, air defense doesn't matter. If the president gives the order, we will deliver. But let's look at the Armada. President Trump tweeted about it on Wednesday. He called it a massive armada heading to Iran. Now in naval terms, we usually call this a carrier strike group, but Armada implies something larger, something more historical. We are seeing a convergence of assets in the Arabian Sea and the Persian Gulf that rivals the buildup to Desert Storm. Why is this happening now? Why January 2026? It's the intersection of three critical timelines. First, the Iranian internal timeline. The regime is weak. We've seen the protests. We've seen the woman life freedom movement morph into a full-blown economic and political crisis for the mullahs. Second, the Israeli timeline. Prime Minister Netanyahu has been pushing for a green light to strike Iranian nuclear facilities for years. Under the previous administration, that light was always red or yellow. Under Trump and Hegseth, the light is flashing green. In fact, Hegseth referenced Operation Midnight Hammer, the strikes from June 2025. Third, the global energy timeline. Look at the oil markets. Prices just hit a 6-month high. The markets are baking in a war. They are pricing in the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. When the money moves, you know the threat is real. Traders aren't listening to the press secretaries. They are watching the satellite feeds of naval movements. And what they see is a siege force assembling. But here is the danger. Here is the terrifying variable that Hegseth's confidence glosses over. Iran is not Venezuela. Nicolas Maduro had a crumbling army and a populace that largely hated him. But he didn't have a proxy network that spanned the entire Middle East. He didn't have Hezbollah in Lebanon with 150,000 rockets pointed at Tel Aviv. He didn't have the Houthis in Yemen who can shut down the Red Sea. He didn't have Shia militias in Iraq and Syria who can overrun U.S. bases in a matter of hours. When Hegseth says the Pentagon is prepared to deliver, he is talking about the kinetic capability to strike targets in Iran. I have no doubt the U.S. military can turn into a crater. But is the War Department prepared for the day after? Are they prepared for the asymmetrical war that will explode across the region? The rhetoric was all about offense. It was all about delivering on the president's expectations. It was about the glory of the Maduro raid. It was frankly hubristic. Hegseth's language suggests a belief in shock and awe 2.0. The idea is that if you hit Iran hard enough, the regime will simply fold. They believe that fear is the only currency that matters in the Middle East. But perhaps the Ayatollah thinks the opposite. Perhaps he thinks, they are coming for me anyway. I have nothing to lose. That is the gamble. That is the toss of the dice that Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth are making with global stability. Let's dig deeper into the preparedness claim. What does it actually mean to be prepared for Iran in 2026? It means cyber warfare. Before a single missile flies, the U.S. Cyber Command will likely go dark on Iran's grid. We are talking about crippling their command and control. It means missile defense integration. The reason we are seeing this armada is not just for offense. It's a floating shield. The Aegis systems on those destroyers are there to intercept the barrage of ballistic missiles that Iran will fire back. The U.S. is betting that its technology can swat down Iran's swarm. It means special operations. If Hegseth is citing the Maduro raid, we have to assume that plans are drawn up for direct action on Iranian soil. Not an invasion, but targeted raids, seizing nuclear material, extracting high-value targets, sabotaging underground bunkers. And let's look at the political dimension. Hegseth's comments were also a loyalty test. By stating, we will deliver whatever this president expects, Hegseth is positioning himself as the ultimate instrument of Trump's will. He is removing any daylight between the Pentagon and the White House. In previous administrations, you had friction. The generals would say, "Sir, here are the risks." Hegseth is erasing that friction. If Trump wakes up tomorrow and decides that the massive armada should strike, there will be no pushback from the Secretary of Defense. There will be only execution. This is why the phrase War Department matters. A Defense Department defends, a War Department wars. It is a subtle but profound shift in institutional culture. He wants a military that is leaner, meaner, and less concerned with the bureaucratic niceties of international diplomacy. And the world is noticing. Turkey is panicking. President Erdogan is trying to broker a meeting because he knows that if war breaks out, Turkey shares a border with the chaos. The Europeans are paralyzed. But look at who is silent. China, Russia, they are watching. We also need to talk about the nuclear ultimatum. Trump's post was clear. No nuclear weapons. This is an absolute. It leaves no room for ambiguity. If intelligence confirms that Iran is assembling a device and some reports suggest they are weeks away, then Trump has boxed himself in. He cannot back down without looking weak. And Hegseth just told us that the military is ready to ensure he doesn't have to back down. This creates a use it or lose it dynamic. If Iran thinks an attack is inevitable, they might rush to detonate a test device to prove they have it. If the US thinks Iran is rushing, they have to strike before that happens. It is a classic security dilemma, spiraling out of control in real time. And let's not forget the domestic angle. The US is polarized, but nothing rallies a base or divides a nation like a war. The Maduro capture was popular in many circles because it was clean, fast, and humiliated a dictator. A war with Iran would not be clean. It would not be fast. It would be messy. Heggs is betting that the US military is so superior, so rebuilt, that it can achieve a quick victory that validates the Trump doctrine. But history is littered with defense secretaries who thought the war would be easy. Heggs is a student of history. He knows this. Yet he stood there and gave the president a blank check. Whatever this president expects. That statement is the most dangerous sentence spoken in Washington in decades. It effectively transfers the entire war-making power of the United States Congress into the hands of one man's expectations. The Pentagon is no longer a deliberative body. It is a delivery service, and the package they are preparing to deliver to Iran is full of high explosives. So what happens next? We watch the Armada. When those ships reach their strike positions, the clock starts. We watch the rhetoric from Thrawn. Do they blink? Do they come to the table in Ankara, or do they dig in? And we watch Pete Hegseth. He has staked his reputation and the lives of thousands of American service members on the claim that he is prepared. If the order comes and the operation goes sideways, if a carrier is hit, if the strait is closed, that quote will be his political epitaph. But for now, the message is clear. The Trump administration is done talking. The guns are drawn, the safety is off, and the Secretary of War is waiting for the command to fire. This isn't saber rattling anymore. This is the drumbeat of war, and it's getting louder by the hour. So what are the indicators we need to watch in the next 48 to 72 hours? U.S. Embassy alerts, airspace closures, GPS jamming, the rhetoric from Israel. If Netanyahu goes silent, worry. If he is loud, he is lobbying. If he is quiet, he is preparing. We are living through one of the most dangerous weeks in recent history. The machinery of war is moving, the War Department is online, and the orders are being drafted. This is not a drill. This is the new reality of American power. Unapologetic, aggressive, and ready to strike. I want to know what you think. Is Hegseth right, or are we walking blindly into a catastrophe? Let me know in the comments below. I'm Michael Popak, and I'll be here tracking every development. Don't look away. The history books are being written right now, and the ink is wet.